the Horse of Course video podcast, which is the official podcast of Société Générale Valley RFC for all your rugby, hockey and netball matters. We hope that you'll spread the word and this show spread far and wide. The goal, it's a new initiative, is to keep you informed, entertained and up to date with what's happening in the club across all the sections, rugby, hockey, netball, during the off-season, seeing what you've been up to during lockdown, what you're doing to stay fit, and as we go into the season, hopefully later this year. Today on the show, short and sweet, we're going to be introducing our outgoing COO, Mr. Nicholas Hewson, 8 years in the role. He's done a magnificent job. And our current Valley chairman from Australia, from Clearwater Bay, Mr. Brett Stewien. Two heavyweights to start with. Hope you enjoy the episode. Spread the word and go the Valley. We promised you two big guests, and they don't come bigger than this on episode 1 of the Horse of Course, the official Valley podcast, coming at you from my sister's kitchen in Hamilton, New Zealand. Welcome to the show now, our chairman, Brett Stewien, and our outgoing Chief Operations Officer, Nick Hewson. Gentlemen, how are you?
Hey, Boozer, good mate. Thanks for organising this.
Yeah, good, Boozer. Good to be with you today and talking to the Valley community.
Yeah, absolutely. So I just want to, first of all, let the viewers, the members, the fans out there, just a little catch-up of what everyone's been doing over the lockdown. We've got 2 Kiwis in exile and an Aussie in exile out at Clearwater Bay. Maybe, Brett, you first. What's been keeping you busy? How you've been keeping the kids? How's the homeschooling? And how do you rate yourself as a teacher?
Yeah, mate. I can't complain too much, really. I mean, we're pretty lucky living out where we do. We're pretty lucky. Everyone in Hong Kong's pretty lucky in terms of how the society has coped with the situation. The number of fatalities, infections have been pretty impressive. Obviously, we've got a lot of members whose families have been directly affected around the world, so it's still a very tough time for a lot of our members. But for people living in Hong Kong, being directly affected, it's been kept to a minimum. So I've got nothing to complain about. I mean, I'm out in Clearwater Bay, a lot of time with the kids, so there's some good things about that. I'm sure we'll look back on this in a very positive light, having such a lot of time with them, working from home. But on the flip side, you know, the kids' discipline's completely gone out the window. Education's a complete mess. Home learning, online learning for a 5-year-old and a 6-year-old is pretty damn hopeless. So I'm looking forward to when schools resume.
Now, this photo on screen, this is your kids in a cage. Is this the key to your success, having them in a cage with the dog? Yeah,
that's right, mate. We lock them up there a few hours a day, chuck a bit of bread through the sticks. But no, that was a little setup they set up on a camp they did down in Clearwater Bay. So before the social distancing really kicked in, they had an instructor who went and set that up for them, and then they showed me where it was, took me into the jungle on a hiking trip and took me there.
That's cool, man. I'm going to get the lowdown from Anne later on the cage operation there. It looks illegal to me. It looks like an illegal structure. And Nick Hewson, well, you've big change of scenery from Sai Kung to Cambridge. Talk us through what you've been going through down there in New Zealand.
Yeah, well, I took off the day after the final to get away from Hong Kong and while the schools were shut, and then suddenly it just got into lockdown here. So I was lucky enough before everything locked down that I was on a farm on the and in their bubble. So I've been lucky enough to be on Windsor Park Stud and have a bit of farm lifestyle. The kids have been able to have a little bit of space, so it's been good. You can't really complain.
Yeah, and just a few photos here on the screen. There's Emily doing a bit of dad surfing on the sofa.
Yeah,
and
kids have been riding their bikes a bit. So yeah, they've grown up quite a lot. But I can agree with Brett in the sense that way more respect for school teachers and the job they do. They do a fantastic job.
Yeah, I know, absolutely. I've been thinking the same. I've been down here in New Zealand since January. Since schools closed, I hightailed it down here, and there's only so many jigsaw puzzles that you can do, and so many walks across the road, or so many hours you can let them just sit on their iPad incessantly for, once it gets to double figures each day, you're in trouble. Just moving along then, Brett, maybe you can explain to the members, the viewers, that the relationship between me and Nick and the club and the sort of transition we're going through at the moment.
You're talking about your professional relationship, right? Yeah.
Yeah, we've got nothing going on, mate. It's no Brokeback Mountain down here in New Zealand.
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously there's big changes afoot at Valley. I mean, these are some of the biggest changes from a personnel perspective we've had in a long, long time. Nick, sadly, is leaving the club. So he's been with us for over 8 years, done an outstanding job. So he's been with the club in a management role for 8 years. He's been with the club a hell of a lot longer than that. Obviously been a star player for many, many years. But in the last 8 years, he's been the general manager, and then after that became the chief operating officer of the club. In that period, he's done an outstanding job looking after sponsors. We've locked in all the sponsors we had for last season for the coming season, so that just reflects how the sponsors think of us. And Nick has had takes a huge pat on the back for his achievements there. But incrementally, the club's become more and more professional. As the sporting industry, the rugby industry has become more professional. He's kept us up to speed. So we're in a really good position across all our sections, across our alumni, and our relationship with all our junior teams. So the club's in really great shape. So sadly, Nick's he's back already, but he's finishing up with us at the end of May. We've had to fill that gap. We went through a fairly intensive process looking at other candidates. We only looked at people who are either members or life members or members of the club. We didn't look outside the club in terms of who we wanted to get to replace Nick. The board felt we needed somebody who had a really strong and deep connection with the club. We did have some outstanding candidates. It was really, really impressive and satisfying that we had so many people put their hands up for the role. I'm not sure if that's reflective of how well the club is going, or how easy Nick made the job look, or maybe everybody thinks Nick's been having a laugh for the last 8 years and they want a piece of the action. But we finally decided that we would go with Grant. I mean, Grant's a guy that a lot of the old members know very well. The fact that he's a life member says a lot. He was rugby convener for several years, 5 years, I think, quite a while ago. But he knows the club well and knows how the club runs. So Grant will be a great choice, I believe. We had to basically completely scrub out 2 years of his CV. There was 2 years there, which we just looked at that and went, is that going to stop us hiring him? But we saw, we'll ignore that and hope it hasn't damaged him too much. So hopefully he won't be too affected by those last 2 years of experience.
You're talking about my years as an underwear model when I first arrived in Hong Kong. Well, yeah, look, I can echo, although I was at Sandy Bay for the last 2 seasons and had 2 memorable seasons with them, and won a grand final. I was pretty proud of what we achieved there. It feels great coming back, and I've never really left. I've always been, a close member of this club, and I've loved being able to run the rugby section years ago, and I watched Nick run it for 8 years, and it's been great watching him transition from a rugby player and his other employment that he's had into a sort of a sports admin role. The care he's given to the club, and as you say, just taken us into a new era of professionalism. The club's in great state at the moment. Just before I speak, we get Nick on just to talk a bit more. So I've also got some history in podcasting as well. So the Rugby 852, we did that for 3 seasons with Jed. We did 60 episodes, and Nick was on there every second episode, I think. We helped polish his public speaking skills. He's always shied away from the sort of reporters, the media after games. He's been with the club since 2005. I remember him turning up. I saw a kid walking up Singwo Do, this lanky bloody, you could tell it was him. I'd never met him, but I knew he was the guy we'd got over. Looks like he'd cut his own hair, which I've done incidentally in the last week, but he had big clumps of hair sticking out of his head, a real home job, either that or someone in his family's done it. He's gone on over 15 years to play 58 caps for Hong Kong, many of them as the leader in 7s and 15s. It's been great when we go to those Hong Kong 7s, seeing Nick down there on the field and the other Valley boys. This boys had a great representation. No one's played more games for Valley than Nick. No one's won more league titles, grand finals. And then to have Nick as our sort of COO, general manager, for the last 8 years has just been, perfect for Nick. So, but for you, Nick, it must be kind of weird, you probably had different ideas about how you were going to close things out. You had the Valley Ball, you had lots of goodbyes to say and lots of beers and cheers to be done. It must be a little bit weird and a little bit not so gratifying.
Yeah, no, you're right. Thank you for all those kind words, guys. Look, yeah, I obviously want to come back and have beers and say farewell to everyone, but obviously circumstances haven't worked out. But look, I've got so many close friends, still keeping in touch with a lot of people, and look, it's bittersweet leaving the club. I've had such a good time, 15 years. My whole came over as 21 years old, as you said, Boozer, and I remember you've taken me under your wing there as rugby convener and looking after me.
Got your proper barber.
Yeah. But look, no, I've had a great time in Hong Kong, and it's certainly a second home for us, and we know that Valley's always there, and we'll definitely be back plenty of times in the future. So you haven't got rid of me yet.
And you're not only that, you're leaving with a beautiful wife and a couple of fantastic young children. You've come there with.
Absolutely. My wife, I've got to thank so much for. She's been so resilient through my rugby career and through the Valley career. She's part of the Valley family, and my kids, they've come into Valley games, and we're part of the monstrous under 5s, which me and Brett were coaching last year. So they're very much part of the Valley community and always will be.
Sounds like that team's in trouble now, though, with you leaving and Brett taking up the reins there. Anything I need to know?
Just plenty of duck, duck, goose, I think.
Yeah.
As long as you know duck, duck, goose,
Pretty
you're right,
tough
you're away.
Well, I mean, it's not all tears yet. You're still with us at least for May, and we'll get you on at least for a couple more episodes of the Horse of Course over May. But also, we've got next Friday night the Quarantini online house party, the Valley end of season house party. I'm going to come around to your place. I think you know that. And you, Dino's going to come over. Kirky, 3 great Valley members will be assembling at Nick's ranch out there at Cambridge, and we'll be hosting the Quarantini party. And Brett, tell us about the Quarantini party and why we've shifted to an online format.
Yeah, well, I mean, thank you to Boozer and Nick and Ali for putting this together. It's been looking really cool. But I mean, going back a little bit, obviously we had a big ball planned. We had promised of the biggest ball that Valley's had for a long time, and that was all locked in. And very sadly, we had to postpone it. It was a really, really tough decision at the time. There was a lot of members I know who were very keen to go, and they would have turned up at the event. But we also had a lot of members who were very concerned about the potential blowback on the club if something had gone wrong. So it was a really tough call, and we left it as late as we could to make the decision, and I appreciate that caused inconvenience as well. But at the end of the day, I think we had to make that call in the current environment. That event, that ball is still going ahead, and with everybody who's got their tickets can carry their tickets forward to that new event. So that's on 22nd of August. Hopefully we can sell a hell of a lot more tickets, so we'll end up having something bigger and better. In terms of the virtual event, we still felt it was good to go ahead and do something to, sign off on the end of the season that's just finished. So Boots has come up with a great idea and a great concept. So we will be handing out our life membership awards for the past season at that event. There are 6 life members who will get their awards. So please do tune in at the very least to see who those guys are, but also to have quite a lot of fun. I'm sure Boozer will tell you a bit more about it, but it should be a lot of fun as well. So get your mates together, get your 8 friends. If you're in Hong Kong, get your 8 friends together in a pub, watch it on your phone, get a few friends over to your house. Let's get together in little clusters of folk and watch it all around the world. Hopefully we can get a lot of people joining from different places. It'd be great to have a roll call of different cities of people joining in.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. It's almost pioneering. So Ali is still going to MC the event. We're going to have the 6 memberships. There's going to be live entertainment, so an acoustic set or 2 coming at you from someone's living room. And there'll be games and engagement, and also an after party, probably on Zoom, where we can all actually see each other's faces as well. And hopefully the biggest, noisiest online boat race, or club scull or cheers, whatever we call it, at the end of it. So the key thing is 6:30 p.m. Hong Kong time, Friday the 15th, on our Facebook page live. You can join there. If you've got big speakers, big screen, big monitor, get your mates around, mix the sort of cocktails, get the nibbles on. And you can actually make comments on the Facebook feed at the time. They will come up on the stream as well, so everyone can get involved that way. It's going to be massive. I think that's it for this episode, boys. I want to thank Brett and thank Nick for joining in. We'll see you next Friday night out at your place, Nick. And Brett, You'll be on the stream saying a few words, no doubt. So any parting comments?
No, great episode, Boozer. Thanks for sorting this out. And thanks again, Nick. I appreciate you've got a few more weeks left, but it's been a great 4 years working with you. It's made my job really, really easy. So it's been a fantastic time. And I'm sure you'll appreciate chilling out a bit more in New Zealand, not getting WhatsApps at 5 a.m. From me and annoying you about random shit. Looking forward to staying in touch.
Yeah. Hey, thanks, Brett. Yeah, echo those words to you, mate. Like that, you've been awesome at it. But as an outgoing person, I'm really excited for where the club's going to head with Boozer leading it up. It's going to be got so many good plans. I've been privy to some of the plans he's got in place, and the members should be really excited what's in store for 2020-21 season for all across the board. So you're really lucky members.
Thanks, Taps. On that, have a great weekend and tune in next week for episode 2. Until then, the horse, of course.